What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 25 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Wow. We're a quarter of a century if each episode was a year.
I know.
That'd be insane.
It's gone so... the annual podcast, it is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Yeah. It's hard to believe we've seen so much. But
so
we look so young.
We're coming back from E3.
Yeah.
This shit's crazy.
Uh-huh.
I can't even believe it.
No.
We're 25 now. We're a whole new person. Mm-hmm. It's awesome as always. I'm Tim Gettys. I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games. Colin Moriarty, Greg Miller.
Hello.
I like that name.
Jesus.
And I like that name is starting to be a thing.
Yeah, people said it to us at E3 a lot.
I like
said,
that.
the coolest guys in
I
video
like to know that the dumb bullshit that I say resonates.
Eventually,
and somebody
It's going to resonate with someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone out there.
Yeah.
Usually
Kevin.
Kevin.
That cares.
Sometimes Alfredo.
Before it was just Kevin and Alfredo.
Yeah.
Now I
look
have
at Kevin. He's just sitting there and moping around.
Doing his thing.
Look how happy he is. All right, nobody can see him, so don't waste time on him.
Yeah. Before we get into this whole thing, I do have one thing to ask you.
Oh, here we go. Good. We're finally getting to the brass tacks.
Yeah, brass taxes of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. I find it surprising that people are so vocal about the whole first and last episode, whatever.
They know I hate it.
But it's because you hate it.
Yeah.
I swear that if you never brought any attention to it, no one would have ever said anything about it. There'd be some people that like it just because they feel like they're in on a joke or something.
Yeah.
I just do it. You know what I mean? At this point, I just do it because I've been doing it, and that's how I do things, right?
Yeah.
But my Lord, there's some people out there. Since we've started Kind of Funny, I don't think there's ever been something people have been meaner to me about.
Meaner? They're mean about it? How are they mean?
I mean, I'm not sure if they're joking or not, but there's a lot of people that are just like, it's so fucking stupid. It's insulting to me. I'm like, good Lord.
Don't be mean about it.
You know the rule, though.
Yeah.
You have to know the rule.
So
you complain about something
we're going to chomp down
that's
harder.
totally inconsequential.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it even more. Like someone today was complaining that I used the word extraordinary too much, so I don't know if you saw the tweets.
Yeah,
I just kept sending him tweets about how extraordinary he was and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
That's just the way it's got to go. I'm sorry.
Don't be mean to Tim,
Save
everybody.
your complaints.
Thank you.
Save your complaints for the audio's bad or the something's
It's
wrong with the
unbearable.
video or there's late.
We fuck a lot of things
We
up.
make enough real mistakes that we don't need to hear about the BS ones.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just interesting to me because it's one of those things that I don't think it's that important enough to have an opinion about.
No. And I don't really care either. I just
But I just think it's weird. It's not like I like it. It's not like it's a thing that I'm proud of that I'm like, oh, I think this is really funny. Like, it's just something I do.
Okay.
You know?
I'll
it's like
allow
the
it.
word rigmarole.
Yeah.
Rigmarole.
Keep doing your thing.
I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to do me.
Don't worry about the haters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're going to hate no
Anyways,
matter
ladies
what.
and gentlemen, if you didn't know, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. It's like the Game Over Greggy show, but we're talking about video games. And it comes out every week, Monday through Thursday, over on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Breakouts. They'll come to you. They're free, and it's good. But if you want the whole episode early, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, and you can get it. It'll be great. It's $1. Pay more, you can do a whole bunch of other cool
Is
stuff.
this one worth $1?
This one will be worth $1.
Let's not gauge yet. We don't know yet.
I think it will. We got
Tim
a lot
always says ahead of time if it is or isn't.
we got a lot of good topics on this one that I'm actually really excited about because one of them, I'm just giving a little preview of topic 3. It's going to be No Man's Sky because Greg got to play it.
That's right. I've touched it. I've played it. I've
and I
been
got a lot
out
of
in
questions
space,
about that. And
flying.
I haven't talked to you about it because
Really?
I wanted, not really. I mean, you gave me a quick update, but like I was waiting.
You want to get in the weeds about it. You want
thing.
the No Man's Sky mud between your toes, man, and you want me to put it in my mouth and spray it on your face.
And that's a nice segue. This episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. If you classify yourself as a geek, gamer, or a pop culture nerd, then this is the subscription box for you. For less than $20 a month, you get 6 to 8 items of gamer and pop culture licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items, and more. I'm sure you're very familiar. Loot Crate's been very nice to us.
They're awesome.
They've been very nice.
They've been awesome.
The new Cyber Crate just got here. Kevin tore it apart.
Dope-ass Optimus Prime
And he
t-shirt.
took it from you. He didn't let you have it.
Okay, he didn't give it to me, though.
Nope.
Once I saw it, he gave it to me. He's a good dude.
Hard to believe you guys are the same size.
Oh, my God. So make sure to head to lootcrate.com/kfgames. So
I don't even mean it as a fat joke. I just mean you have different bodies.
And enter the code KFGames to save $3 on any new subscription. Every month there's a different theme, and all items are curated around that theme. So basically, Loot Crate's like a friend who knows what you love and surprises you with an awesome present every month. I like that. I like that bit that they put because it's like,
That makes sense. That's a good way to boil it down.
You're good at boiling it down. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate. And when the cutoff happens, that's it. You're never getting that crate again, guys.
Oh, my God.
So you better get on that. So go to lootcrate.com/KFGames, enter the code KFGames to save $3 on your new subscription today. Bam.
Done.
We are done. All right.
Thank you,
So,
Loot Crate, for your support.
As I said, this is our first post E3 Gamescast.
Thank God. Stretch our legs.
So many people have questions. So
really?
many people want to know different things.
About E3.
About E3, we
Oh,
played
wow.
different games. We saw a bunch of shit. There was a lot of
Didn't play a
announcements.
goddamn thing.
No, we did a lot of. If you guys saw, we did a Gamescast for every press conference except for Square, because I was butting up against us doing the actual show.
GameSpot
And
Cross. Kind of funny. Not to be confused with NX.
Yeah, that's higher.
NX is high. GameSpot Cross 20 is down here.
It's low. Yeah. So we did a lot of stuff. We did a game of the show thing, which we gave to Horizon.
Right?
And that game looks amazing. But something that we didn't do on Gamescast, and everybody, I got maybe 20 tweets, but I'm going to give a shout out specifically to Nicholas Salazar at the Nick Salazar.
Big fan. I see his name a lot.
He's a good dude. He wants to know who won E3. Also, what the hell's going on with Nintendo? That's a side thought. Good things.
The gamer
Who
won
won
E3.
Yes.
So-
Good answer, Greg.
So the thing there, we're not going to do that bullshit because
Oh.
obviously we won. But to be fair, I think that this year, more than the last couple, seriously, we won.
Yeah, totally.
There's going to be so many games that are playing. Like, I am stoked. And every single person I talk to, they're excited about different games. And that's really cool. Even Nick, like, he saw things like Gang Beast, which has been around for a long time for people paying attention. But
Yeah.
for someone like Nick, he's just looking at it and he's like, I can't wait for that.
That
And
game
that's-
really looks hilarious.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm
fucking
excited it's
awesome.
finally coming to console, which reminds me I got an email. Double fun.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
I'm going to cross my fingers this whole show so I don't forget that you do it.
Okay. Good.
Lot of show ahead.
Oh
of us,
yeah, I
don't
know.
worry.
Yeah. I was seeing how long you'd actually hold out. Anyway, so we discussed what our game of the show was, but that's a different question than who won. You know, typically that comes down to the big three: Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Which one of them won? First off, before we even get into this, do you think that's the same? Do you think that we can judge this on the same scale in 2015? Or do we need to
Meaning
change
what?
that? Like, do you think that that's still the right way to judge who won E3?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it's all in the eye of the beholder,
It's
right?
all-
Like
yeah,
we
it's just
talking,
goofy.
I was talking on Colin and Greg Live about how fucks to give are in the eye of the beholder. For instance, I don't have any fucks to give, but that's in my, that's for me. Some other person might have a lot of fucks to give. I found some fucks today during Colin and Greg Live. Take that as you will.
Yeah.
I think that the more I've marinated on this, the more I've come to different conclusions than my immediate reaction, which was that Sony won. And I thought that because Sony, and I still think that in a sense because Sony's games just speak to me more. I mean, we're very open about that. So when I see games like The Last Guardian or Horizon or Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I know a lot of people think is coming to other consoles and it might, but they said as of today, like they're only making it for PlayStation 4. They're not even worried about the other consoles and stuff like that yet. So you might never see that on anything else. Who the hell knows? But we'll call that a multi-plat. But there are games, and announcements at that particular conference that just spoke to me on a level of a gamer.
Sure.
It's not to say Microsoft didn't, because I'm really excited about Gears 4, for instance, and obviously Inafune's game Recore makes me really excited. But I think that if you look at who won from a paradigm-shifting place in terms of coming into their own, in terms of changing perception, then Microsoft probably won.
You understand where I was coming from.
Because I think that Microsoft's doing all of the right things now. Microsoft and Sony's still doing the right things, but Microsoft, it's fresh and exciting for Microsoft because they just hadn't been doing the right things for a while. Ever since they rolled out Xbox One, it really took them a while to catch their footing after they kind of stumbled and fell. But backwards compatibility, I've said for a while now since it was announced, is the biggest announcement at the show. I think that's a hugely consequential announcement. I like that they took aim at Sony specifically in that announcement by saying we're not going to make you pay for your games that you already own. Of course, this is a thing that has to have publisher cooperation, and it's not going to be everything immediately, but could it be everything eventually? Giving Xbox One potentially 1,000 new games, which is huge. It's fucking huge, and it's a pro-consumer move. I think it's a very popular move for a console that's already cheaper than its competitor. So I think Microsoft might have won E3 depending on how you look at it. And if you look at it from that perspective and look at it from changing minds and closing the gap with PlayStation, then certainly they probably did win, because the other stroke of genius, as we talked about before, is that they showed games, much like Sony did, that are a ways off, with the exception of Halo and Tomb Raider. In other words, they showed games like Recore that are next year. Gears 4, doesn't have a date yet, but then they show Gears, and they Gears Remake, and they show Halo, and they show Tomb Raider, and they show the Rare Collection, and all these kinds of things that are immediate. The tide is changing for Microsoft. Sony should be worried about what's happening over there, because Sony's games are all still in the future. We're going to talk about No Man's Sky in a little while. No Man's Sky is effectively a PlayStation exclusive for now anyway, and I'm still not super convinced that that's going to be on anything else except for PC. But we'll see, right? Because Sony's putting so much time and money into that game. I don't know what the publishing deal is, but I don't necessarily think that is 100% coming to other consoles. But let's assume that they treat that as an exclusive. and it comes out this year. Well, they have that and Uncharted Collection, and that's it. And Microsoft has Tomb Raider, Rare Collection, the Gears remake, Halo 5, and Forza 6. It's a substantial exclusive lineup. And I keep saying, as we said on Colin and Greg today, Greg, that I hope Sony doesn't announce anything for this fall because I just want to see how it plays out with nothing.
As an industry fan and analyst,
exactly.
You want to see how it's right now. I mean, the big thing is Microsoft's moving all its pieces into position, and they're getting ready to start this war, right? To really unleash the troops here, and that's what E3 was, and why when we did the initial conversation afterwards, where I was like, I don't know if it's as cut and dry that Sony won. That was what I was saying,
and you were right. I was wrong about that.
I love you. Well, this goes back to my point before of like. Colin's the kind of guy who doesn't entrench himself in his opinion. He will sit there and evaluate and change when evidence is brought up. Is the fact that, they put all these pieces in place of like, we have this year covered and we have next year covered. And then, hey, Sony's been showing you Morpheus forever. And you think it's neat, but not that cool. But here's HoloLens. Here's one HoloLens demo that matters. Enough for everybody to go, that looks really cool. I'd like to know more about that. And then we'll move on to back to games and do all these different things. And they've set it up to see, if there is nothing really for Sony this fall, if it is No Man's Sky and it is Uncharted and that's it, what does that mean? That gap is going to close, I think, significantly in terms of what the lead is and how that's going. And then it'll get to be a smaller gap, and then you'll see Microsoft start pulling ahead next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. And this is the thing, as an industry analyst, as someone who just loves numbers and loves the way the business side of the games work, and often the stories behind the games, we've said many times, much more interesting than the games themselves, and I still believe that. I feel like it might not matter. And that's why I want to see what happens, because now we're going to have it. It's not fucking academic at that point. It's going to be on the market, right? No Man's Sky, I mean, they say they're going to have data information soon. I presume that means it's going to come out this fall. I don't know that for sure. We know we're getting Uncharted Collection this fall from Bluepoint. But Sony has sold 25 million or so PlayStation 4s with no games.
With no exclusive.
And so
that you need.
Exactly. There's nothing on the console with the exception of, I would say Bloodborne is probably its strongest exclusive.
And that's not a game that's like moving units.
Exactly. And then you have good games like Infamous and Killzone. But nothing like on the level of probably what you'll get with Uncharted, for instance. And Until Dawn is coming out in August, and then Uncharted Collection, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it won't be an academic exercise at that point. At that point, we're going to see if it really does matter, because so far it has not mattered at all. And that's the amazing thing about it. And maybe Sony's, I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe Sony's looking at it and saying, well, we have Fallout. They've known about that for a long time, no doubt.
Sure.
You know, we have Fallout coming out, and so does Xbox One, and we have Call of Duty, and we have Battlefront. We have all these games. It doesn't really matter, you know? And I wonder, you know, obviously Naughty Dog does whatever they want, so I'm sure that they would have liked to have that game this fall, but, you know, I want to see it play out, because I just don't know if it's going to matter. If it doesn't matter, then Microsoft's in fucking huge trouble. And that's the thing that I want to see if that plays out or not.
The fact that Sony's done so well right now with no true exclusive of their own, I think really, you and I have done this beat for a long time, and we cover the fuck out of the first parties, right? If the fact that Sony's done so well right now, and if nothing changes this fall because of it, I think that speaks so much to their third-party team, that Adam Boyes-led team, and the fact that, you know, Batman Arkham Knight's out, and where do you get the exclusive Batman console? It's a PlayStation 4. Destiny was a PlayStation 4. And granted, we've talked before, those numbers didn't seem outrageous that they were moving units that way, but it's the inverse of what last generation was, where it was every time you saw something, it would go boom and be the Xbox 360 logo, and people are like, oh, that game's going to be on Xbox 360. I'm going to play it on Xbox 360. Whereas right now, it seems like it's a PlayStation 4 ideal.
Yeah, and the fact that you see Battlefront, and that seems very PS4 heavy. Like, Sony is pushing that game. Like, I think that's a big thing there, where you're right. It's like last gen was Xbox, this gen is PlayStation, and that's crazy, because to the general consumer, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Like, they see this and they don't give a crap if it's on both systems or not. They just know, oh, it's on this system, I need this system. So
yeah.
I think that it's all about perception. Usually there's a clear-cut winner. It's typically been Sony. I think we can all agree on that the last 2 years or so, with the exception of this year, because the more I marinate on it, and that's what I was saying, was I'm like, well, what was the point of the conference? You know, if the point was to move the needle significantly, then Microsoft wins.
Yeah.
If the point was to show me games that I want to play, then Sony wins.
Right.
I think so. Again, it is super perception heavy. The other winner, of course, is Bethesda.
Right.
Now, I was really impressed with Bethesda's showing. First of all, Doom looks fucking awesome, and I love that they're just calling it Doom. It looks great. Some people were complaining about it's too violent, it's too bloody. I don't give a fuck. The thing I love about the game,
I'm Colin Moriarty. I don't give a fuck about
the thing I love about the game is that there's zero pretension about it. There's no story. It doesn't give a flying fuck why you're doing what you're doing. It's a game. And a lot of people feel like they can't make games like that anymore. And that's not an inconsequential game. It is making the game, and Bethesda's publishing it. It's a huge studio and a huge publisher putting this game out, and it's just like, it's just Doom, and I think that's pretty cool. Obviously, they'll have context, but I don't think it's gonna be a very story heavy affair. And then obviously Dishonored 2 looks cool, and I feel bad that the game leaked the day before, but it is what it is. And then obviously Fallout 4 is gonna blow everyone away, and people still think I'm overestimating how well that game is gonna do. And I think
They're stupid.
I think you're gonna be
Stupid.
if you're really surprised why, say, Tomb Raider might be in trouble that it's coming out the same day Fallout 4 is, you'll know in November why it's gonna be in trouble, because that game is gonna fucking trounce everything around it. So, I feel I like Bethesda's stance because I just don't think they're going to do this again, and I'd be really interested to see if they do. There's no reason for them to do it again. All of their games will be out, with the exception of maybe Doom, by that point. Right?
If they do it again, it'll be far flung. It'll be the same thing. All the stars aligned. That, hey, we have four great titles we need to talk about.
Right, exactly.
That's why this happened.
Elder Scrolls, I'm assuming the next time there is one, it'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. They're not fierce about annualizing. And as we talked about in our pre-show before the conference, Bethesda seems to be mostly focused on building games internally and publishing them, much like Ubisoft. So they have their work cut out for them because they just don't have that many studios. Ubisoft has a lot of studios that are places you've never fucking heard of, in cities you've never heard of around the world, that make all of these games, right? Ubisoft Sofia, I think, was the one that made Assassin's Creed on Vita, right? So it was like all of these random studios. Bethesda has a smaller group of studios that are bigger names, I think, like id, for instance, or Bethesda Game Studios, which are the RPG makers. And I think that they just give them time to make games. I don't think Bethesda's ultimate goal or ZeniMax's ultimate goal is to become EA. I think their whole thing is like, we make premium games that are going to sell 10 million copies.
Yeah.
And, but Fallout 4 will easily sell 10 million copies. Doom is probably good for 5, if not more, depending on how good it is. Dishonored will do a few million. So like, they're ultimately trying to get to that point where like, we make a premium product, which tells me that, they put everything into this particular showing and the stars did align, and you will not see them at E3 next year. At least in a conference sort of way. So I think that they're huge winners because they made such a huge splash. And then I think everyone else did okay. I think there's some losers. I certainly think Nintendo is probably the major loser. I don't know if you guys necessarily agree with that. I think it's clear as the day is long, personally.
They're taking it on the chin hard right now because it was what people wanted. I thought it was an entertaining conference, which is the opposite of EA's. And now, granted, EA didn't speak to me in terms of games. You know what I mean? Pele comes out and stuff. And I understand that I'm maybe not the target audience for that. But overall, it just wasn't super entertaining. Whereas at least Nintendo, I thought, had the interstitials and the jokes and whatever. And I think it speaks again to what I always say, is that I don't think what gamers want Nintendo to be, I don't think Nintendo wants to be that. So I don't know. But yeah, Nintendo definitely is the one. Like you always thought, we were talking about the day after, we were finally able to look at the coverage, that it wasn't just us. It was like people in the internet in general were like, this wasn't good.
Yeah, but I think the difference there, though, is like you're saying that the EA conference, and we talked about this a couple times last week, but who was that geared towards? Like, who is the audience for
when you're
Pele
that
to come
expansive?
out?
I don't know if I mean, that's the whole thing, is like, and that's why they had to be, hey, everybody, who wants to talk about mobile? 15 minutes until Battlefront. Like, we know why you want to watch this.
Exactly, but even then, it's like, who is the audience for the mobile stuff? Like, I don't think that there needs to be a press conference talking about these games. Like, the audience is on their phones. They're not watching E3. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand the need to, like, talk about the new Madden and all the new sports stuff. The people that are going to play those games know that they're coming, and we don't need to hear about the features and stuff. If people want to hear the features, they'll go to IGN. They'll go to GameSpot. They'll figure it out, right? Yeah. Wasting the time of the press conference seems weird to me because it just bogs it down. Whereas Nintendo stuff, it's like, maybe it didn't speak to us because it wasn't the games we wanted, but I mean, all the Animal Crossing stuff, I'm sure the people that love Animal Crossing were like, fuck yeah. Seeing Star Fox, I was like, fuck yeah. I have my issues, but it's like, still, it's Star Fox, Mario Maker, I'm sold. All the Japanese games, not necessarily my thing, and even the Fire Emblem stuff, I'm like, I love Fire Emblem, but I don't want this.
Okay, well then you're being a hypocrite. Because you can't say that about the Japanese games and then be like, if you want to know about Madden, they'll go to IGN. Like, these conferences are to show your portfolio.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, there's a difference between EA and Nintendo in the fact that the Madden stuff, it's like they're aiming at nobody really. Like, even those people don't need to hear the new updates and stuff. They're going to buy the game. The people that are fans of the Japanese games, that is an audience that is the right place to tell them that information.
I don't know if I fully agree. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. I think EA's was by far the most traditional E3 press conference, right? We've seen all the first parties move away from that. You've seen Ubisoft. I mean, now it's been years. You think traditional Ubisoft, you think Aisha Tyler, but that was a deal when they moved away and had her, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Mr. Caffeine.
I wonder what that would look like. No, like, you know, and EA's was very much like, here's your next talking head. Here's the next game in our portfolio. Here's what it's doing feature-wise. I understand.
I think that there's two things that are worth noting about, well, who are the mobile announcements and the sports announcements for, right? They're for USA Today. They're for the New York Times. They're for the Wall Street Journal. They're for all these newspapers and mainstream coverage, and they're also for their stockholders.
Right, exactly.
You know, so that's where E3 gets really complicated. And why Sony, for instance, does a really convoluted kind of thing where they do a lot of conferences at TGS and stuff like that in Japan, where they usually have two conferences because, you know, or just speak multiple times because they're speaking to a lot of different audiences. So at E3, yeah, you want to speak to us, but we're not the only people they're speaking to. And frankly, EA finds a write-up in the Wall Street Journal 50 times more valuable than they do a write-up in IGN, guaranteed. You know, like it's just so like
public perception.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, IGN's audience, for instance, already knows about all these games, and they don't care really. Like they're gonna buy Madden. If you're gonna buy FIFA, you're gonna buy FIFA. It doesn't matter like what it's reviewed. But a write up for a casual audience that reads Wall Street Journal at the dinner table after drinking coffee and eating dessert or whatever with their family, that's a pretty big thing for them. So they have to aim at those kinds of things. The other thing that EA had that Nintendo frankly did not have were bombshells. Right? They showed Mass Effect for the first time, which is huge, and Mass Effect Andromeda. Then in the middle, they show Mirror's Edge, which is huge. And then at the end, they show Battlefront, which is huge. And all those games are going to sell,
and
especially
when you go back and you look at EA and you talk about tentpoles and stuff like that, that's when I was like, oh yeah, that was cool. It was just in the moment to moment of just like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't care about Plants vs.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was the problem with Nintendo is that, I mean, I thought Star Fox was so obvious that I predicted not only would it be at the conference, but it would be shown first.
Yeah.
Because that was obvious, right? And then other than that, nothing. Like, literally nothing. And I don't think Star Fox looks good at all. And Star Fox isn't going to sell. Newsflash, you know? So the more I thought about that conference, the more I'm like, this is weak. But it wasn't until I really started reading NeoGAF and all these places where I'm like, people fucking hated that conference. Like I couldn't. Usually, all the Nintendo fans hate me, right?
Yeah.
I say something about Nintendo, they're all mad at me. But I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like they're finally maybe seeing that this company is like a wreck, you know? And the one thing I felt bad about with Nintendo, frankly, was what everyone's expectations were. They're in the space in between right now. I don't know what the fuck you want them to do, you know? They cannot talk about their next console yet, and they said they weren't going to. And they have to ride it out and get some games out, but they're not going to talk about the next big Mario game, and they're not going to talk about Zelda, because guess what? They're going to talk about those things when they're ready to talk about them, and they're probably associated with NX, you know? Yeah. I think I'm becoming more and more I thought it was crazy, but I'm becoming more and more certain that this new Zelda game is the Twilight Princess in terms of it'll be like a legacy game and it'll be on the next system as well. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, I think I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of the Nintendo Direct, because of course I want them to win. I want them to be good, and it's like I just can't say that they did based on what they showed. And I was thinking, like, what could they have done to fix it? And it's like, I don't think there's anything. Like, I really don't think there's any announcements they could have made. Like, even if they came out with a Metroid Prime and a new Mario and all this stuff, it's like, at the end of the day, it still would have been, all right, like, it would have been the equivalent of EA, where it's like, you had those, there's those couple big things, but besides that, overall, people are still going to look down on it and be like, whatever. And I think that the fact that they didn't show those things shows that they know that they're in the transition period. And maybe it's a good thing we didn't see Mario Galaxy 3 or whatever the hell that would be, because it's showing that it's like, they're not going to like keep trying to fail. They're going to wait for the NX, or hopefully whatever that is.
Take their lumps and keep going.
Yeah. You know, and like that, to me, that's a win. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean they win E3, but it definitely means like I think that conference, it was good for me because it's like, there are games that I can't wait to play from that show. That's all I needed. I wish there was a surprise, and there wasn't. And because there was no surprise, it was a shitty conference.
Muppets were surprising.
That was quite the surprise.
Yeah, it was surprising, and that had haunted my dreams for the next few nights. But yeah, I think that I feel bad for Nintendo because there's a few things, right? No game company would get away with the shit they've been showing the last couple of years if they weren't Nintendo, and that's an obvious thing that you have to say, right? They're getting by on legacy purely at this point, but they've earned it. So I don't really get necessarily mad about that because I know that they are again in the space in between, and like they just have to figure out, and I'm sure are figuring out what they're going to do. I think Nintendo returns to E3 in a major way, in a live way next year.
With the debut
with a new console or whatever it is. Who the hell really knows what it is? Piece of hardware, something.
Google Glass.
But again, just hearing, Iwata apologized on Twitter, for like that showing. Then Reggie comes out and says, he wasn't really apologizing and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I think he was apologizing. Then they say really backwards things like, VR is not fun and it's boring. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Just stop talking, recede into the background and figure everything out, because day by day you're losing people. When people start feeling like I've felt about Nintendo for a long time, and that seems to be a really common thing now, I don't care how much money you have in the bank, and I don't care how popular you are. You're in a lot of trouble. And, you better figure your shit out. And I want Nintendo to just go away. Just be quiet, trickle out these other games that you just need to get out, like Yoshi and all these other games, and just come back and shove your boot in everyone's ass next year. You know what I mean? And they're just not going to do it. I know in the back, I expected them to do it with Wii U.
Yeah, I know. Everyone did.
And I thought, because we had such a bad... It was there, and it sold very respectably, and games sold, but it was just a joke, by the end. And I knew that they knew that. And when they revealed Project Cafe and all these kinds of things, I was like, yes. Yeah. Like, show us what you can do and get us back and make us excited again. And the Wii U was a rush to market, ill-conceived, underpowered console.
I'll never forget that E3 when they unveiled the Wii U.
And everyone knew what it was.
Going into it, but it was the bad no one knew where it was. Whereas going into it was the good no one knew where it was. And everyone's just like, it's rumored to be called just the Nintendo Entertainment System. They're fixing the problems. They're doing all this stuff. And I'll never forget when our Nintendo guy at the time got to see like the pre-showing thing. And he walked up to me. He just shook his head. He's like, it's not what you think it is. It's not. And I was just like, fuck. And I just remember my stomach dropped. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, because it became clear that they had been this, Nintendo takes R&D seriously like any hardware manufacturer, but what they take really seriously with R&D is innovation, right? The analog stick, the rumble pack, the little discs, motion control,
the little discs, like GameCube,
anything like. But there was reasons for them to do things like that, right? And the D-pad, it's all shoulder buttons. Like, it goes on and on and on and on. But eventually, innovation stops becoming innovation that everyone wants, and innovation becomes gimmicks that no one wants. And the Wii U is and was such an overt look at tablets. We have to do something with tablets, and it's like, no, man, like, will the gamepad serve your games? No, it clearly doesn't.
Will it even be remotely in the same league as the tablets that are on the market?
No,
not a chance.
No prayer. And that's why I hope against hope, man, that they. And I feel like it's possible, but unlikely, that they really just knock it out of the park.
There's no way.
I don't know. They have to know, that they are on borrowed time now until. And I know that people think I'm crazy when I say that because they have so much money and so much prestige in these IP. I'm not saying Nintendo's going to go out of business. I'm saying their hardware business is on borrowed time. They need to come out with something that will compete with PS4 and Xbox One, which will be on the market until 2020, if not beyond that. So, they have to figure it out. And I want them to figure it out.
Me too.
And I still say, as we said on Colin and Greg, the way they're going to figure it out is to get out of hardware. And make your games.
I think NX is going to continue on this innovation route, and so then the question is going to. But the question is if they come out and they do what we keep asking for, where we keep saying we want a handheld / home console, basically imagine if you could just take the Wii U tablet with you, right, and play games on the go. If they go that way and the DS is over and this is our handheld is this, which is also it's the N, and then the X is the home console, but it's all the same thing, and that's NX. That's the innovation we'd want. You know what I mean? If they go that way and they take the ideas they have of, we want to keep changing what gaming is, we want to change what Nintendo is, but we want to talk to the gamer again, that's where it gets different. Right now, I think they still tried with the Wii U to be a toy guy. We're still going to make you toys and stuff. And they have to decide real quick if they want to keep going down that route, which I do think ends in a dead end where they have to just put their games on everything, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
I mean,
it would be ideal.
We've said it before, man. I hope that happens. Because I love Nintendo at this point for their games, not for the system it's on.
Right.
No matter what happens, I love my Wii U for the games that are on it. And when the generation ends and Wii U finally actually dies, I'm gonna look back and be like, wow, I enjoyed this shit out of enough games on that thing that made it totally worth it to me. But I don't love it because of the Wii U. God knows I don't love it because of the Wii U.
Right.
But I hope that happens one day, as much as that hurts me to say. Because when you just said like what we all want for this to be this portable / console thing, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know if that is what I want anymore.
You're a piece of garbage.
Yeah, I mean,
we almost had him. Reggie was listening.
Yeah. But I mean, if they're gonna go the hardware route, that is what I want for sure. Like that just makes sense. But then again, if they do that, then it will still be not as powerful as the other consoles. They'll still be.
But you don't need that. Why do you care? Why do you need that?
There needs to, I do think that there needs to be parity, and there's no excuse for them if they're going to launch a console 3 years after the other ones that it shouldn't be more powerful than those consoles. And that's the thing that people should be excited about. You have to make a device that people want to make games for. You know, and I don't know why that's so lost on people. I don't care that the 3DS is underpowered and the games look like complete garbage on it, and that's just the fact of the matter. You know, I'm ceased to, like, to be amazed when I see a new 3DS game and I'm like, Jesus Christ. You know, I don't care about graphics, but I look at it from a perspective of, is a game developer going to be excited to make a game on 3DS? Probably not. Is a game developer excited to make a game on Wii U? No. You know, and do they make it easy to do that? No. They need to make a game. They need to make a console that engenders the support of third parties, or they will not survive. You know, it's just, and by that I don't mean Nintendo. I mean their console will not survive.
Right.
And that's obvious. I mean, they got into bed with like Platinum, for instance, to bring Bayonetta and the Wonderful 101 over and stuff like that. Like, certain games are just never going to happen unless they start paying for them. Yeah. And I can't imagine those games are profitable. Maybe they were. They have to make something that gets people excited on the developer side. And they've burned so many bridges with developers at this point. Look at Zombie U. Like Zombie U was made by Ubisoft. They wanted to make a sequel, they didn't because it didn't sell very well. And now they're bringing it to Xbox One and PS4, it looks like, which is unbelievable and weird. You know?
Yeah.
Because they want to extract more money out of it because they're not excited anymore. They took games like Rayman and were like, we're going to delay Rayman because we need to get it on the other consoles. You know? Like, we're not releasing it now.
Yeah.
It's ready to go. It's done on Wii U, but we're not releasing it. Like, that's incredible. That's incredible stuff. Because they know they can only make one introduction with their game. It doesn't matter what consoles it's on. Mm-hmm. I fear for Nintendo in the sense that they're going to keep trying to go down this road, and then they're going to find themselves in financial trouble. But they do have a lot of money, and they have valuable IP, and they're doing things like, you know, a theme park integration and stuff like that, which is awesome. And at the end of the day, they own Mario, they own Donkey Kong, they own all these valuable IP. And we're seeing a different Nintendo now with their cooperation with DNA, and Nintendo that I would never. And that's why I'm so confident in saying now, not confident, but more comfortable saying maybe they will stop making hardware at some point. Because if you asked me 6 months ago if they were going to put their shit on cell phones, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. Of course they're not going to do that. And not only are they doing that, they got in bed with another company because they admitted, which is amazing, that they don't know how to do it. I mean, this is a different Nintendo that we're seeing now. So
the Skylanders integration I thought was a big step forward too.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is like people shit on the Direct, but it's like, I mean, that was a huge announcement, not for us, but for the industry and for all like what's happening right now. That's a huge deal.
For the Amiibros, they're going to care about it.
There's a whole ton of them.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I'm the thing that never changes for me with Nintendo is I'm always rooting for them.
Yeah.
I'm never surprised when they fuck it up. But I'm always rooting for them because at the end of the day, a strong Nintendo and a healthy Nintendo is good for games and good for innovation and drives everyone to make better games. And I do believe there will be a time again when everyone looks at Nintendo and says like they make the best games, and that's all that matters because they do make the best games consistently.
That's the whole thing. I don't think people look at them now and don't say that.
I personally think people look at studios like Naughty Dog. I think people look at studios like Bethesda Game Studios. I think people are looking at CD Projekt Red. I think people are looking at all over, not at Nintendo anymore. Personally, you know, and not looking at Nintendo Studios and being looking at Rockstar, looking at whoever and being like they make the best games.
Looking past Mario Golf World Tour.
Come on, guys.
Sort the fuck out, kids.
All right, so going back to it before we close out the topic. So who won E3?
The gamers.
If we had to choose one besides the gamers, do we all agree Sony?
I agree Sony in that it spoke to me more, but I still think Microsoft makes a very
That's
valid
the thing
case.
is like Microsoft rises to the top in my mind just because Sony was a great conference, but then it's the same thing. Like some of those games didn't speak to me, the majority of them did, but Microsoft I felt was the one that had like oomph to it. You know what I mean? And Bethesda, I'm not counting. I mean, Fallout was amazing. Fallout's going to be amazing. I can't wait for Fallout. But in terms of who won, I think it comes down to you start talking about first parties where it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. I that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, is that the scale? Is it those three? But I think it is.
Well, the scale's outdated. It's one of those things that none of this makes sense, and it's just all jerking ourselves off talking about this, saying what we want.
It's so weird for me to think about it, though, that we're in a world where Final Fantasy VII HD, or not HD, remake was announced. and it's not like, oh, Sony fucking won. And that's crazy to me. And like,
it shows how strong it has been.
But it has been too long. Like, that's the thing, is I feel like that announcement any other year, I feel would have been a much bigger deal than people are making it out to be. Not to say they're not, because obviously if you look on the internet, it's like the number one friggin' thing everywhere. But it's like, it's really weird talking to you guys and feeling like I need to keep bringing it up. You know,
it's because it's so far off. I mean, that's the thing, is that this is just a very premature announcement that really had no business being made, to be very honest with you. So it's like that's the one thing. That's to me. That's the one thing why I'm not excited about it. It's the same reason why I'm not excited about Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15, because I know they're nowhere near being done. So it's just like, and Final Fantasy 7 is way behind those games.
Final Fantasy 7 also, I think, you saw it at PSX. And like the way everyone built and started, like that was when, holy fuck, are they about to, it's the PC thing. And so we already had that tease. And so like this was still like, what's happening exactly? And then it was over. You're like, oh, cool. And it was like, clearly not anywhere close to being a real game yet. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, cool. That's a great announcement. I'm glad. But it wasn't like it ended and then they went into a demo and like, this is what's going to be happening next year and shit like that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're building. I mean, they're entering production, which is a bad. I mean, it's great. They have to enter production at some point, but it's bad if you want to play the game anytime soon. Especially remaking a game like that. It's going to take time, man, and effort and massaging that just so
finesse.
Finesse. It's a great word for it. They have to treat it with great care, and I think there's going to be a lot of problems making this game. I think it's exciting, but I think this game is going to go through a lot of problems because CyberConnect will try to change things.
Well, okay, so
and I don't think that's going to resonate.
CyberConnect.
Yeah, we're gonna keep that for a topic maybe next week. I'm trying to figure out how to best do it because
Get it, Portello.
Greg's not so much a Final Fantasy
I'll
guy.
go play Batman when you guys talk about it.
So you go do that. But I definitely want to talk to you about what you think they should change, how they're gonna change it, and if that's such a big deal or not. But whatever.
It's a huge deal if they try to change anything. But we'll see.
We'll say that for next time. Continuing on with E3, Gray Fox at Gray Kitsune wants to know,
good Metal Gear reference,
what were games you thought were ignored at the show or didn't get enough attention because of all the other big titles that were there? Now, this resonated with me because I'm a big fan of a lot of little things. So it's like games like Amplitude get me super excited. They're not the biggest games, but they're ones that I'm going to sink a lot of time into. And I remember walking around the show floor and looking around, just being like tons of things that I was like, oh shit, that's playable. Oh shit, this is here. And like no one even talked about it. Like Ratchet and Clank comes to mind.
Yeah.
That game looks so good.
Pixar
a couple
movie.
weeks ago we saw the trailer and it was just like, oh crap, this looks good.
Yeah.
It was playable on the show floor. And I was like, how the hell is this? No one's talking about it.
Oh, it's because they wore out their welcome. The damage is done. Stop making Ratchet and Clank games.
No.
Don't reboot it now and think that we won't notice what's happening.
No, but that looked good. And then I also saw Journey on PS4, which they've shown like 10 million times.
Sure.
And it's really interesting. Like, where is that? Like, why is that not just... It's out now.
I know, right? That's the thing is that
weird.
we've heard about that game forever. It's like, okay, do it. Poop or get off the pot. So I'll tell you a game. I'm a fan of these small games too. A game that I was surprised I didn't think about, forgotten all about. Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. The game that I said is currently my game of the year. Like I was on there and people started tweeting me like, "Hey, you're gonna give one of your awards to Metal Gear Solid 5?" And I was like, "Oh right, Metal Gear Solid 5 is here and it's not out yet." You know what I mean? It's just like you want to talk about how E3 works is that there's no trailer reveal at any of the press conferences. There's a giant demo on Jeff Keighley's YouTube stage, just like where Telltale went to go talk about the Walking Dead spinoff for Michonne, and nobody fucking heard it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody heard it because there was so much noise, so many big events, so many pre-shows, so many post-shows that, like, you had to be dialed in at that one moment to get into it. And we watched the trailer, we did the rewind for it, Les Enfants Terribles, and we had a great time talking about it, right? But that didn't resonate to me as an E3 game of the show. And now, granted, it's because I'm spoiled. I'd already played it. I put 2 days into it. But it wasn't even on my radar in terms of E3. I didn't hear a lot of people talking about it. People did eventually start talking about the demo, but it was your embargo was up before E3. You did a trailer. You're not on the stage. You have the booth, but it's like booths aren't really what E3 is to us. You know what I mean? E3 is the stage demos. It's the press conferences. It's these different things. I was surprised, that you didn't feel a presence of it. And a big part of that, I think, is the fact that Kojima wasn't there. You know what I mean? They didn't have him there. If things weren't south with them right now, you have to imagine he comes out on the Sony stage and talks about Metal Gear and shows a demo and does something cool to get everyone excited about it. But the fact that it was like sectioned off, it was to me forgotten. That's why I didn't think of it to give it an award. And then after the fact, I started going back and forth in my head. I'm like, well, I've said it's my game of the year so far. So I think that's a good enough nod for it. And it's just like, yeah, like I want to give it to things that caught me off guard or I didn't see coming. Like E3's that excitement and that, oh my God, something brand new. And Metal Gear's been around a bit. You know what I mean? Like, let's get out there and do something. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people called me out. Not called me out, but a lot of people had questions, I should say, and brought up the original tweet I did from Konami LA Studios down there when I was playing Metal Gear, right? Because I had tweeted out that on this day I can talk about single player, and on this day I can talk about Metal Gear Solid Online. And it was like the Tuesday of E3, right? And so that day during the shows or the live streams, people were hitting me up like, what's going on? Why are you not talking about it? And I was like, because they didn't show anything. Yeah. And here we are at E3, and did they show anything? I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch all these things they're doing on the YouTube stage, but for us, it was one PowerPoint slide that said how many players are in a map. Mm-hmm. So I really have nothing to say because I have no idea what the hell Metal Gear Solid Online's all about. Like I know Phantom Pain looks great and that looks awesome, but online I still don't know what's happening.
I want to give a shout out to a game that I think I got appropriate amount of coverage and was playable, which was Mario Maker. I think that I didn't get a chance to go over and play it. That game looks fucking awesome, and I can't wait to play it. So I'm glad that that seemed to be like one of the stars of the show, just generally.
One of my games of the show.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it was one of your games of the show. It bothered me in the Nintendo Direct how they were manhandling all those documents, but other than that, it was good.
Here's the original way we laid it out. They're just
just folding and throwing. I'm like, all right,
yeah, pulling out their pocket, like, oh, by the way, here it is. Sorry, I forgot that we got the original document.
It's like, Jesus Christ, what are you guys thinking? But yeah, that game looks awesome. So I want to give a shout out to that. There were a few games that I was surprised I didn't see more about. I didn't do like a deep dive, but a few games that came to mind. One of the games I was surprised that I didn't hear more about was Riggs.
Oh yeah.
Riggs is made by Guerrilla Cambridge, so a first party Sony studio, which is it's like a 3-on-3 arena combat game for Morpheus. And I was surprised that it had like a very noticeable and big placard on the show floor, and it was upstairs. You had to like go upstairs and play it and stuff like that. And I was just surprised I didn't read more about that game. I played Alien Nation, Housemarque's new game for PS4 behind closed doors, and it's fucking awesome. So I can't wait to play that. But I didn't really see anyone talking about that. I think mostly because it wasn't on the floor and it was in like pre-alpha and it was a little rough. But
Rocket League not getting the attention it deserves.
Rocket League
didn't see nearly enough Rocket League coverage.
Gave Rocket League one of my placards for game of the show. Love that game. Can't wait to play it. Yeah, so I mean, there was a few of those out there, but actually the biggest miss for me in terms of its appearance on the floor, but not in playable form and nothing to see of it was Persona 5, which is why I think that it's not coming out this year. I don't care what they say. So
and let's bring this nugget up too.
Yeah.
Because this shit driving me crazy as well. We had been saying for a while, like, don't expect it in 2015. Don't expect it in 2015 in North America. And so then some kid had tweeted me like, hey, what do you think the chances are? And I responded and did like the quote tweet, and I'm like, not a chance. Not a chance this comes to North America in 2015. And then that day, Atlas updates their website to say it is coming in 2015. And they put out a statement of it is coming in 2015. And everybody's tweeting at me saying I'm wrong. January 1st, 2016, everybody take a fucking photo of how many hours you
I want your Kodak on one of the
little wind-up cameras. I want a photo of your screen showing your game time in Persona 5 because it will be 0 hours in 0 minutes. Like, I understand that there's a light in the end of the tunnel here that all of a sudden the website says 2015, Atlas says 2015. I'm sure they're aiming for 2015. I'm telling you they won't hit 2015 in North America. Take it to the bank.
Boom. I won't be quite that confident. Anything
Guess
can
we
happen.
fired up.
I just was surprised. I was surprised by the bold assertion as well, considering they've not shown anything yet.
Right.
They've showed like a trailer. It looks great, but I mean, it's not gone hands on or whatever. And I still think their primary market is not the West, so they don't. I think there's John Harden, who's our friend over at Atlas, who does all their PR, did reiterate that they think it's going to come out in 2015, but I just don't see it happening. But I hope it's true. But
again, I hope at TGS they come out and they're like, look at this huge thing, release date worldwide, and I'll be like, oh man, humble pie, and I'll eat it up. But I just don't like being told I'm wrong when you don't have a confirmation. The website saying 2015 is not it being in your hands.
Yeah, and remember that a lot of times, for various reasons, and I'm not saying Atlas would do this, but for a lot of reasons, publishers say release dates and then have every intention of delaying it. So which was exactly what happened with Batman.
Yep.
Which was obvious as the day is long, where they were like, Batman's coming. What was the original date? Like
November,
and they're like, oh, never mind. We need 8 more months. It's like I'm pretty sure you knew you needed those 8 months, but all right, I believe you. So yeah, that was actually the biggest thing that was missing on the show for me because I expected it to be there. First of all, I expected it to be at Sony's conference, and second of all, I expected it to have a more substantive. If it was coming out this year, they would have had something on the show for. But they're probably wary about. First of all, it's probably not localized. Second of all, they're probably wary of spoilers and all those kinds of things. I still am confident that it comes out this year in Japan, but I just don't. Same thing with Tales and another RPG series. You identify and focus on your home market first, and then you worry about localizing later. The studio has enough to worry about. They have been making this game for a very long time, so you have to assume it's almost done.
Yeah,
but maybe not. I don't know. All I know is that Catherine came out in 2011, and they haven't released anything since then, and I'm excited to see more. But yeah, so that was the biggest thing that I was surprised about wasn't there, because they had like a placard for it and nice signage and stuff like that.
Nice
and bags
too.
and all that, but nothing for the actual game. And so that told me that it's still far off. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
Hashtag Colin is never wrong.
Never.
Ever.
There's a ton of Tim games that obviously for probably the right reasons didn't
Timmy
get
O'Toole's
enough
Adventures?
love. But like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, it was weird to me how little that game was talked about, in the sense of like, where was it? Again, it was the Jeff Keighley thing. The gameplay world premiere of it was on Jeff Keighley's show that no one saw. Well, not no one saw, but everyone was busy watching all these other things.
Cut to the Tube Filter article where they're like, the
This
YouTube
is
stream
like
of
8 million
E3
views,
did 8
whatever.
million views.
But the people that saw that didn't see whatever else was happening. There's too much happening at once.
Exactly.
So that game just got drowned out completely. Having said that, from the little I saw, I am worried about that game.
But you're Mr. Tony Hawk
I
Pro
love it.
Skater.
I can't wait for it. It's going to be. I know it's going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I know
Good
that.
enough.
It is not going to be great.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it will be good enough, and that's exciting to me. But man, it looks rough.
Oh, no.
But it does look like Tony Hawk. It's just weird to me that they're like, oh, it's classic. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And I'm like, then why does it have a bunch of this shitty features from Thug 2?
Yeah.
Guys, come on. Then Yoshi's Woolly World. It's
Yeah.
almost unfair to bring up because that game's been at E3. It feels like forever. And I've seen it so many damn times. And it's also out in like a month.
Yeah, it's coming out in June and July in AU and UK, and then October for the US, because we speak such a different language.
Yeah, I mean, Yoshi, man, he's a tough guy to really connect to, But that game looks awesome. And I've seen a couple of the reviews go up now, and it's not looking too great.
No, really?
I mean, it's like 7s.
Oh, fuck.
And that's my problem is Yoshi's Woolly World could have been a 9. It could have been like, it looks cute, but it's actually challenging. It's actually really like good, and it's not.
So it's going like Kirby Epic Yarn.
It's another Yoshi game, and it's like I love Yoshi, so
it's the year of the Yoshi.
it is the year. It's always the year of the Yoshi, the perpetual year of the Yoshi in my life. But that game, every time I play it, I'm like, man, it's good. It's solid. It's upsetting to know that it's not as great as I wish it would be. But the last one would be Transformers Devastation.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh my God,
Platinum Games.
Probably biggest surprise for me of E3 besides Final Fantasy 7 HD. It blew me away because, my God, seeing a screenshot of that game, I'm like, this is made up. This looks like this is like a dream I had. And then seeing the gameplay of it, I'm like, this is utterly ridiculous how much this is just a thing I saw in my imagination years ago, and I'm now going to be able to play it. That's awesome.
That's awesome, yeah.
Like, it's the Transformers games where you just get to play with your action figures and bang them together and make a lot of noises. Yes. Thank you. Platinum Games making it. Will that game be a 10 out of 10? No chance in hell. Am I going to fucking love it? Oh, yeah. And I thought it was weird. This is talking about things that we thought were underappreciated or whatever. I think E3 overall, the booths were really oddly set up this year. Like,
how so?
Did you get too much of a chance to walk around the show floor?
I walked
Not
around
much.
our show floor a fair bit, West Hall. South Hall, I just ran to like my appointment there.
Like, I thought that Sony's booth, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, they always kind of have a similar like layout year to year overall, and they're always good. It's always like well conducive to seeing all their offerings, the smaller indie titles and the like different demo kiosks. Nintendo's very focused. Here's the 5 games you're gonna play. There's 10 million stations for each one.
Sure.
That's what you're doing. Xbox is a little bit in between where it's like there's the marquee titles, but then there's also the littler ones. But then when you went over to the other hall and it's all the different like the third party things, it was a fucking shit show.
It usually is over there though.
But it was like more so than normal. Like
Really?
Activision's booth, it was just the Destiny booth. Like it was just Destiny. Everything else was behind closed doors. And I was like, what? Like, because usually they have a whole like Usually the third-party booths are the cheating way to not have to wait in line to play the games you want to play at the first-party booths.
Yeah.
You can just go over there and just kind of, like, there's no line for them, you know?
Sure.
This year is just like, oh, they're just not here. And, of course, EA has its crazy-ass, like...
They take up a giant
thing where it's like a
section.
freaking rave going on half the time. You don't know what's going on. So I thought all that was pretty interesting. But a big thing that I don't think is being talked about enough, granted, not much to talk about, Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, we got a gameplay trailer that showed a fair amount of gameplay. A lot of new stuff. We got the new Tangled World. We saw a new Hercules place. And I'm just like, this looks fucking awesome. I hate that trailer ended and it said, what do you remember what it said? It said, like, still in development or something. I'm just like, fuck you guys. Like, come on.
I mean, that game's so far off, man.
But it looks so good. And I'm happy they showed that. Like,
it does look very good.
Because they could have just shown another CG trailer or another, just quick tease. It was just, here's Kingdom Hearts 3 again. It's happening. Goofy does some shit. But it's like they actually showed...
I got the date wrong.
But they showed gameplay that I was like, oh, this is why I'm so excited about this game. And it's been interesting that people haven't been talking that much about it. And I think it's because Square's conference happened at a weird time. And it happened the day after they announced Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Square's conference was weird to me.
Yeah,
overall.
it was totally unnecessary, actually.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they actually let loose on the Final Fantasy VII thing at
PlayStation.
Sony's, but I'm sure there's a deal, maybe a publishing deal or some money being exchanged. But yeah, that was weird. Square didn't need to have a conference. I mean, the reason Square wants to be a legitimate Western style publisher, right? Like we're publishing Tomb Raider, like which a lot of people forget. We have Hitman and all that, and I'm like, I respect that.
Yeah.
But slow your roll a little bit. And finish some of the games that you have in the pipeline so I don't ever have to fucking look at them in E3 again. That would be like where I would start, Final Fantasy 15, still not convinced it'll be out by E3 next year. Kingdom Hearts, no chance in hell. So get used to seeing Kingdom Hearts for the next 2 or 3 years at E3 and get used to seeing Final Fantasy 7 remake in perpetuity.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would be shocked if we saw that game again, even at next E3. And they already said that they're showing more will be revealed in the winter or something. It was a super
They might show
weird.
something at TGS or something.
They made it sound like at TGS they're going to show something.
That's not in the winter, but yeah.
But they said there was some really weird phrase they said.
New
That I
York
was like,
Comic-Con.
what the fuck? Yeah, they implied that we're going to get more info soon. But I would not be surprised if we didn't even hear another update on that game for maybe even past next E3.
Yeah, they need to go dark for a little while, and that's the thing that's frustrating to me about Square's Japanese stuff is that. When I saw that they were patching Final Fantasy 15's demo, I'm like, why are you patching it? Make the game
That's where they make
already.
They fix things there
Please.
that they can apply to the game, Colin. So they can show that they're listening to your feedback.
They
on
are.
the demo.
Well, I loved that when they were like, remember we did it on Colin and Greg, I think, where it was
Yeah,
like,
the
here's all the
giant list,
feedback.
yeah.
And one of them, of course, was the awful voice acting. But
It's unbearable.
the blonde guy's voice acting, I'll never get over how bad that was. If I never have to hear, I suspect he will not be in the final game. But I appreciate that they did that, and they're like, here's what you guys said, and here's the advice we're taking in as we continue to build the game. That's great. Good team working on it. Very talented team working on this game, as they have been for a very long time. But I didn't expect them to update the demo, pretend the demo doesn't exist, and just walk away from it and go back and work on the game using the advice you got from the demo. And I'm sure they're doing that as well. But to me, it's just like, Jesus, God almighty, just stop already. Stop teasing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're updating the demo because they're like, the game's still 18 months off or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like holiday. I'm shooting holiday 2016 at this point is what they probably hope. So it's just Square's just weird. They're just a weird company.
I'm also shocked that they didn't release the Kingdom Hearts collection on PS4.
Didn't they announce it on PS4?
No,
They never announced that.
No.
Not at the E3. I'm saying they announced.
No. Kingdom Hearts, they did the 1.5 HD remix and 2.5
2.5. I
HD
know on
remix.
PS3.
On PS3, still nothing on PS4, and it just makes too much
never
sense
said anything. I could've
to be like,
sworn I
here's
read
all
that.
of it in PS4.
Maybe I'm wrong.
PlayStation Now, though. PlayStation Now, though.
With the
don't
power
think
of the
they
cloud, every game's available on Vita. If I hear that one more time, I'm gonna kill myself. Yeah, they're just weird. They have to go dark for a little while. They have exciting games in the pipeline, especially from their Japanese studios. And it's cool that they're like starting to work with other studios too, like CyberConnect. I didn't even know Square had a relationship with them. So, that's cool that their internal teams who probably have no interest. And here's the thing about Final Fantasy VII that I never really thought too deeply about is over time they certainly knew that everyone wanted a remake of this. And it reminded me of when when McCain ran for president and he ended up with Palin as the running mate, and you know that he asked like 10 other people, but they all said no. And so you have to imagine. I mean, I'm no disrespect to CyberConnect because they're totally a fine studio, but you have to assume that's not where they started.
Yeah.
And everyone they went to was like, it's probably a lot of money. It's probably great work to have, and you're gonna have 3 or 4 year relationship with Square, and they're gonna pay your bills, and that's great. But the pressure to remake that game is probably absurd.
Yeah, and it doesn't even make sense.
And so like CyberConnect getting it is fine, but I'm like, I don't know. When I heard that was the rumored studio, I'm not even sure if they've ever confirmed that or not. When I heard that they weren't doing it internally, I was like, well,
that's trouble.
It's not necessarily trouble. I was just hoping for like level 5 or something like that. But if we're not going to go in that direction, then best of luck to you, because people are going to be scrutinizing the shit out of that game,
sure.
and that's why I think so. So it reminded me of Palin, where I'm like, she was like the 10th choice clearly, and they didn't even vet her, and they got to that point, and they're like, whatever, we'll just take whatever we can get. I just wish I was there for that year, 18-month conversation where they're like, please make this game so we can just tell everyone to shut the fuck up, and they finally found their match. But I don't think they started with CyberConnect. I think they started higher on the food chain and went from there. But maybe not. And I would have loved to see, frankly, I would have been excited to see a Western studio attached to that game. I thought that would have been really bold. But and when they showed the trailer, I'm like, the way the verbiage and stuff like that on the words was very Japanese scenario, for instance, which is a way to say you wrote the story in Japanese gaming. But I was hoping that it was going to be like a Western studio that did it, just to do a little bit of a different spin. But you can tell that was a Japanese game.
Capcom Vancouver.
No, hopefully they're working on Mega Man. That would be nice.
Damn, Portillo with the scurry.
He got that run on.
He's doing something. All right, so Greg.
Yeah.
You get to play a little game called No Man's Sky.
I did get to play No Man's Sky.
I got questions for you.
Lay them on me.
What the hell is that game?
It's fucking awesome. We talk. If you remember
it's funny you said that because you were a little disenchanted with it.
The PlayStation post show after when we sat down and did the, what do we call it, the Gamescast post show for Sony. I came out and we got to that point and I said, I'm sick of seeing this demo. What the fuck is this game? I'm sick of seeing we're gonna climb into the spaceship. Oh, we're flying around. We went to this planet. Now we're down here. Now we're doing this. All right, demo over. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? What am I doing here? What's the moment to moment gameplay? And so on Thursday after E3, I got to go there, and that would have, if we had seen that in the regular week, that for sure would have gotten one of my faces, and I would have made an argument for Game of the Show.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Damn,
it's that good, dude. I mean, if we want to start try to get to a sentence, it's Minecraft in space, which is awesome. It's open world Minecraft in space. You know what I mean? The whole galaxy, everything else. The point of the game is that everyone's trying to get to the center of the universe. There's something there. We don't know what or whatever. And the way you're doing that is everybody starts with a small ship, and then you go and you harvest resources to make your ship better, to make your suit better, to make better guns. And then you're using that hyperdrive lets you get closer to the center. You start jumping out, because he did the thing, right, where you pull out and you see all of these are suns that have planets rotating and da 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 da. Like you do all that, and so it becomes this game of how do you want to play it and what do you want to be in this world. And you can be the explorer, you can be going trying constantly to get closer to that. You can be the trader, you can be the fighter, you can be the guy who's running freight, you can be the guy who's just gaming the system and going to Galaxy A. Yeah, this because they were talking about they have testers who are playing it, right, who aren't even landing on planets. What they're doing is going to different galaxies, going to the trading shops that are like on the space stations, right, buying element A at a really cheap rate because this galaxy sells it cheap, then going to another galaxy, buying element B because it's super cheap there, then going to Galaxy C where they combine them and then sell this thing at an inflated rate.
And
they're just making money hand over fist doing that, and that's all they're doing. And so that's the thing, and like Colin said it when we were talking about it, and like what I got out of it, right, is that it feels a lot like EVE Online in a way, right, where there is an economy growing here and there's all these different people, and they were talking about it like, all right, this is, you can jump in there and you can get this resource and you can come out and this planet's rich in this resource. You can go down there, you can spend all your time harvesting and getting what you want and then fly out, but there could be a pirate just waiting out there who isn't ever in the mood to go harvest and will shoot you down or try to shoot you, take your stuff and get it back.
And would the pirate be a person?
This is the question.
Yar.
I don't understand how multiplayer works in this game. And it was one of those things I didn't ask in the demo just because I was caught up in everything else but talking about it. And I'm like, oh, I'll look at previews after the fact and go, look, I Googled around before this Gamescast and there's not even a definitive answer. And what they were saying in 2014 is that there is traditional multiplayer in it, but it won't be ready for launch. But that was in 2014. 2015, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, the way they were talking in this demo made it sound like it's going to be a real thing. You have somebody there playing. He's shaking his head, yeah. And so that's what I'm unsure about. Because like there's definitely multiplayer in the sense of that asynchronous thing of I get to a planet, I'm the first person there, and I scan it, and because this is the explorer track, right? Where maybe I don't want to even give a shit about the center of the galaxy. I just want to explore planets and have a good time, get resources, build a better craft, build a better suit, build a better gun, and then I'm just exploring different planets. I land there from the first person there. I scan it. It'll say you found this animal on top of whatever creature. You found this planet. Go to one of the upload link posts. Go there. Upload that to the world. Then I get to name the planet. I get to name the animal. I get to do all these different things. You know what I mean? So then filter into your world, so if you ever get to that planet, it's there. But they had talked, like, he had said something along to the effect of, like, you could have, not a gang, but you could have, like, a roving band of guys, which makes it sound like, okay, so there is real-time multiplayer right there.
Yeah.
But unclear, and I haven't been able to figure something out online. That's a failure on my part.
I did a brief, like, scanning of a couple articles, and I saw people make reference to that this is not an MMO, even though people think that it is. It's more of a single-player game with
asynchronous options. Yeah. It's this weird thing, and it's like I said, I was down on it just because I was sick of seeing the same demo. All right, I get the game's beautiful. I get there's a lot to do. What does that mean? You know what I mean? And it wasn't until we were on the planet, shooting things, collecting them, going in and seeing like their periodic table filled out of what they've discovered and what they have and how this works into that. I was like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Like that, and I assume that's how this multiplayer is going to be too. How it's got to click where I have to see what's happening to figure out what's going on.
So was there combat?
Yeah, there's combat.
You're fighting other people. Well,
in
AI.
the demo, yes, I'm fighting an AI. Yeah, what it was is, you land on the planet. There's going to be peaceful animals, and sometimes there's going to be hostile animals, and you shoot them and whatever. Even if it's peaceful, you can shoot a whole bunch of stuff. But every planet has like space cops on it, like there's space cop outposts.
Fucking space cops,
that are like
man.
robot probes or whatever, right? So you have like a GTA wanted level, right, where it starts ticking up of like, hey, you're really fucking up this planet. Why are you killing all the? And they'll come out and you kill them, and then it goes up more, and then you try to get out. But in that galaxy, now you have a wanted level.
Really?
And so there's space stations out there with these orbs that are coming out, or not orbs,
Wait, in that system
probes.
you mean, right?
What did I say?
In the galaxy, because there's only one galaxy in the game, right?
No, it's well. I mean, how do you? No, I get. Yeah, I guess the system is what you're saying, right? But what Kevin? They didn't.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding the terminology.
Well, I mean, I'm not Mr. Space, so
you're trying to get to the center of the galaxy. That's the point of the game,
so,
right?
So then the systems would be all the different planet system clusters around the sun.
Because I was wondering if there were multiple galaxies, then it was like the game is unfathomably big, but it's still
there's
unfathomably
infinite
big.
suns or whatever, so yeah, it still is unfathomable. That's the whole problem. But yeah, if you jump to another system around another star, then yeah, you're fine, and that you drop a new wanted level there or whatever. But there's dog fighting, there's other ships to shoot down, there's people to run from, there's all this stuff.
So do you have a health bar?
Yes.
What happens if you die?
If you go back to the last time you save/uploaded your stuff. So like if I landed on a planet, I discover a creature, but I kill a whole bunch of stuff and get shot to death, and I'm gonna respawn at the space station out there having not discovered that stuff because I didn't upload it before I die, and I'd lose all the resources from the last upload/sync point or whatever you want to call it.
You go ahead.
Does it seem like there is an actual game campaign? Is there a campaign mode?
He's nodding his head yes. I think there's a campaign as much Minecraft as a campaign. I mean, there's a more drawn out goal of something's in the center of the galaxy. Everybody's being drawn towards the center of the galaxy. But they were saying like when they launch it, they're going to go very Minecraftian. We're like on version 1. Like when Minecraft originally came out, you remember there were no wikis, there were no in-game guides to what do these two things do. They want this to be a game for explorers. They want you to get out there, get into this world, and you and I have a real conversation, whether it be through the internet or in person. I had element whatever and element whatever, and I put them together and made element 2 ever. You know what I mean? Like they want it to be like there's this movement behind it that you're finding stuff, and then later on they want to start rolling out updates like that and make it a bit more clear. But they want it to be the Wild West when the game first comes out, which is cool. And that's the whole thing too. They're asking about, people ask them all the time about this or that, and like they were talking about like vehicles for on, like there's no like moon rover or whatever. And he's like, yeah, there is no rover right now, but that's something, we'd love to add later on down the line. Like they see this evolving like Minecraft when they talk about it. Now I'm throwing Minecraft around a lot. In the demo, they did not throw Minecraft around a lot, for the record.
Let me ask you this. Let's play detective a little bit because
Sure.
we're trying to figure out like the readiness of this game.
Yeah.
This game it's impossible to make a vertical slice for this game. So that's one clue that they kind of glossed over at the conference, but didn't really like. He was like, we're playing the game organically. We're gonna find.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm gonna jump to here. I don't know what I'm gonna find.
So you've played a lot of games. You and I have done a lot of demos and know a lot about the games industry. What is the level of polish on the game right now? What in other words, what are the load times telling you? What is the interface telling you? What's the polish telling you?
Sure.
About the game. What was locked off, if anything? These should indicate when this game's gonna come out.
Yes. All of the things you just listed were giving me a thumbs up. Load times weren't atrocious. There was one where he's like, what did he say? We were loading, and he's like, this is taking 25 seconds right now. When it ships, it's going to take 7. Like, that's how it's going to be. I think it was the hyperdrive jump or whatever. That looked great. I didn't jump. I didn't have, like, we were there passing the control around, so there wasn't a lot of menu stuff. Interface-wise, though, it looks locked. Like, it's one of those things, like, it felt like what I was playing could be released. And I would pay money for it and be happy with it. You know what I mean? To run around. Like, it's like the thing we were doing, right, and we've talked about on the other show, I know, is like, there's real, it's like Red Faction. There's real, you're damaging the terrain. You're shaping the planets. Like, I jumped into basically a giant crater hole, right? And it's like, well, how do I get out of here? And granted, I had a jetpack, so I could just go up and fly out. But I also then just took my gun's secondary function, which he had upgraded, obviously, to a crazy thing, where I'm just shooting out bombs, and they're just taking out huge chunks of ground. So I just made, a tunnel up by aiming a little bit. Not tunnel up, you know what I mean? Like a slope up or whatever. And like all that was running great, falling through the world, you know what I mean? Like textures are there. It looks great. Like I think, at the very least, I feel like we're getting really close to a giant beta. Of like, hey, everybody, let's try this game out. You know what I mean?
I wonder if that's the announcement.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was their thing, where they're like, hey, everybody, October, November, No Man's Sky, open beta, or PlayStation Plus beta, or whatever, leading up to our 2016 release. And they run with that for a while.
Yeah, I wonder if that's an interesting point. I wonder if that's... I never thought of that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That game demands a beta, doesn't it? Yeah, so any word on... Because this is still a confusing thing to me. And I'll look at it again. Actually, can you go to No Man's Sky's wiki, like just its Wikipedia page?
Sure.
Because one of the questions I have for you about this as well is to clear up some confusion that I have personally about the way the game's talked about. Is this game coming to other consoles? Do we know anything about that? Sony's treating it like it's a first-party game.
Right.
And they've said that in the past as well, that they're treating it as if it's their own game. Are they publishing it? Like, who's paying for this fucking game? And is Hello? And I'm asking you quite like interrogating you, but you had time with the game.
Yeah.
Is Hello Games still a very small studio? Because they were like no more than 12, 15 people, I think, at the most, when they were making Joe Danger. So
they're still small.
So like, how are they making a game like that? Like, there's so many. I don't understand how they're making this game. So wait, hold on. It says
the game will be released simultaneously for PlayStation 4 and Windows.
Yeah. So platforms is only marked as Microsoft and PlayStation 4 on the Wikipedia page. I just still feel, and I know, like, I don't want to treat it like it's real exclusive because it's on PC. It's not really, but unless you play it, a lot of Xbox games are on PC. I think that's a reasonable way to treat it exclusive. There's something tells me Sony's like all in on this game, and they just haven't said anything yet. Mm-hmm. But I don't. They've just spent so much time on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if the beta is sooner. I wonder if the beta is like in August, and I wonder if the game comes out this fall.
That would be crazy. That would be super nuts.
In its state of readiness that you were talking about, it just seems to be optimized
for a controlled thing. Yeah, of jumping around. It's still procedural generated, right? And he was talking about we were asking what if you warp into a system and warp into a destroyer or whatever. And he's like, that shouldn't happen, but it did just happen during one of our other demos where a Star Destroyer came in and crushed me. And it's like, that's not how it's supposed to happen, but it can happen that way.
So, all right, 2 more other questions for you.
Sure, I'm on the Verge article. It's funny because I came to you guys and I tweeted actually as soon as we finished, I finally played it and I'm now a believer, and that was a headline in the story, which always made me laugh.
What is the cost, and is it a retail game?
Ooh, good question. I don't think it's a retail game. I think it's $20.
$20?
Yeah,
really?
I do. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have any. See,
can you go?
We
back?
all fucked up at once and didn't ask about multiplayer.
Can you go back to Hello Games? Or can you go back to the Wikipedia page and look at Hello Games' staff size?
Sure.
None of this makes any sense. You know, like from that's what I'm so confused about. Like, it sounds like a game you can put on a disc and get $60 for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's got the cachet to it. Is the problem? I think Sony and Hello Games has to look at it and be like, we're trying to do Minecraft again. And again, I'm the only one throwing around Minecraft like that. They didn't.
Yeah, they have 10 employees. I don't understand how they must have a million contractors for this game. I can't imagine. I have so many questions about this game. That's why I'm so impressed about it. At one point, I'm like, I don't really care about it, or I didn't. A lot of people were crazy about it. When we were still at IGN, everyone was like, oh, No Man's Sky. I'm like, I don't even really know what it is. Now that I have an idea of what it is and how it plays and the way it sounds like right up my alley. So I hope.
No, I mean, like, it's totally. It's space the game. You know what I mean? Like, let's go explore space. Let's just hang out. And that's what I was saying to you guys. I pointed at Kevin and the Hello Games guys of like, it totally seems like the perfect game to wind down with every night. Sit down and maybe only play for an hour, maybe only play for 30 minutes, and you're just gonna go chill and find a new planet and harvest whatever resource you know is in this galaxy that or whatever this system that you need.
It sounds interesting. It's definitely such a unique game to the point where I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then now I think we're finally past that point of not knowing. Like, it's no longer just the demo. Now that you've seen this and now that we know that what the game is, I think people need to stop asking, what is it?
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Getting so hung up.
I understand that frustration.
I know, me too, and that's the whole thing. Is like, it definitely strikes me as a game that you need to play because once I sat down and played, like the best part too, we were with our friend Sean Norton, and we were running around playing in this world or whatever, right? And he was like coming up on animals, like, and he shot at it, and we're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I was trying to see if I could get my gun up, and it's because your gun doesn't default to being up. Your gun defaults to being down. You are there to explore, research, catalog this planet, right? Because you're building out your little encyclopedia of everything you've come into contact with.
That's so good.
Exactly. And it's like, it's the journey here isn't to shoot and blow the fuck out of everything, right? It's to fucking hang out, run around, fly
some
around.
dinosaurs.
Make
Space
shit
dinosaurs.
Yeah, find some cool ass space
Did you find any
dinosaurs.
space dinosaurs?
No, well, I didn't, not like dinosaurs. I found a giant creature that looked like an armadillo. Like, he was
I
cool.
love armadillos.
Killed a whole bunch of them. Got chased off by the space cops.
See,
But then
I like this. I killed an armadillo, got chased by the space cops.
Got my little ship, took
sold
off.
me.
You know what I mean? Like, flew off into space.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really, really, really cool.
And you said that your ship is dynamic, right? So you can technically make a Death Star.
That's well, they were dancing around how big, because we were, of course, they're nice British chaps, and we were a whole bunch of Americans, and we're like, and he's like, yeah, you can blow chunks out of the planet and stuff. We're like, can we build a nuke? And he was like, what? Like, we escalated, like, how big can we do this? And then, can we nuke the planet? Like, and then Sean's like, what about a Death Star? And he's like, all right, guys, slow down a second. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what the limits are going to be and how far you can build stuff out.
Can you imagine that guy that just makes the fucking Death Star?
Just fucking coming through
You
systems.
come into a system and
just blowing up everyone's planets.
It's like renaming everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, guys. Final topic of the day. Again, sponsored by Topps.
The trading cards?
Yes, trading cards.
Interesting.
I used to collect Topps.
Star Wars Card Trader is the official Star Wars digital trading card app, available now exclusively on the App Store and Google Play. Open, trade, and collect cards entirely online. No cardboard, foil, or gum in sight. Collect from 30 years of officially licensed Star Wars trading cards from the vintage era through to today, with new cards being released every day. Get the first cards from Star Wars The Force Awakens. The recently announced new characters are available in the vintage-inspired Star Wars 77 designs. Star Wars Card Trader is currently the only place to get Star Wars The Force Awakens merchandise. That's interesting. I'm really excited that, like, leaked images of merch are starting to come out online.
Yeah, it's cool. It's exciting. We're getting close.
Yeah, we're geting real close. What is it, like 6 months out? 5
Yeah.
months out? Almost 5.
Yeah.
Sweet
Wow,
Jesus.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's happening, guys. They have fan favorites like Darth Maul, Yoda, Chewbacca, Grand Moff Tarkin, and deep cuts like the Rancor Keeper, Squid Head, Ayla Sakura. Do you know who that is?
No.
No
Squid
idea.
Head is reuse, right?
I don't know. It just says Squid Head.
And
Jocasta Nu,
and
Max Rebo.
Max Rebo, nice. That's my dude.
Watto, where's Watto?
Well, it doesn't say. I don't know if Watto's there. We can't confirm nor deny, but I'm gonna hope. Greg.
I knew it was
I'm
going to
gonna
be a
hope this for you.
family. They don't even give me a trading card now.
So head on over to tops.com/kindafunny. Tops has 2 P's. So TOPPS.com
You knew that.
/kindafunny.
You've seen these cards.
And start collecting today. Tops.com/.
Thanks, Tops.
Yeah, you guys are cool. I want to check those out. I want to see if there was a Watto. Someone tweet at me. Let me know if there's a Watto. So,
Do you want him like in his original form or now that he's a horse?
I don't know if that's canon, Greg. All right. So, We're going to lead off with a question from Jack Lundquist, Kadow3 on Twitter. Now, as always, if you have questions for us to answer, go to the forums, kindoffunny.com/forums. There's a Gamescast topic. You can leave your things or tweet at me at Tim Gettys, and we'll do some stuff.
Leave your things.
Leave all of your things. Okay. He says, talk about why Fallout 4 didn't get mentioned at all for Game of the Show. Now, a lot of people were tweeting me about this because I left it a little nebulous at the end
you're
of
like, we'll discuss this next time.
We'll discuss this next time. Gentlemen, go.
We don't like Fallout 4. We don't like Bethesda. We hate Todd. No, we love Fallout. We love the thing about it. And I hinted at this with my Metal Gear thing, is that E3 is about surprises and what happened at the show. And Fallout 4's trailer came out a week before E3. We knew it was coming. It was telegraphed. We were told it was going to happen. And so then when we got there and we watched the trailer, it was more Fallout, which is all we wanted, right? Like, it was a better looking Fallout with new mechanics of Fallout, and it was Fallout. And so, like, when we get to, and it's hypocritical, I guess. I gave an award to Uncharted, and I was like, Uncharted's demo blew me away. Fallout's demo blew me away. I guess that's the thing. We're talking about being blown away in two different contexts. Fallout blew me away in the fact of, oh, they added this system. Oh my God, I'm going to do this. Oh my God, so many hours. Oh, we get to talk, the voices. That's rad. That's rad. That's rad. Uncharted blew me away in the fact of, like, look at the graphics. Look at my heart's racing watching. Like, it was a full on, here's 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the game. This is straight gameplay. This is what it looks like. Whereas Fallout jumped all around and showed us different slices of it, which is great and awesome. But Uncharted showed me something that was this Horizon, Killzone Horizon.
Killzone Horizon.
Jesus Christ.
Basically.
Guerrilla's Horizon, showed us a giant chunk of the game, and this is how it's going to play, and this is it moment to moment. I guess it's a shitty answer, but I mean, we're not journalists or whatever. Or critics, I guess. But, it was excitement. I was excited about these games. Fallout, like, I went and got my Pip-Boy edition as soon as I could. You know what I mean? Like, I'm excited for Fallout, but I feel like I know what I'm getting with Fallout. It's like Batman. I was excited for Batman. I was ready for Batman, but I know what I'm getting with Batman. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Am I putting this in a good way?
That's the way I feel about it too. I mean, I'm fucking jazzed about Fallout 4, but we had known, first of all, it was obvious it was going to be shown.
We've been talking about it since January.
I know, like, we've been talking about it for a very long time, and it's exciting. I'm very excited about it. Honestly, I'm way more excited about Horizon, honestly, than I am Fallout, because I just feel like it's something new and different and exciting from this studio. So that's why I chose it. I understand why that's confusing. It doesn't mean I'm fucking super jazzed about Fallout 4. I'm gonna play the shit out of that game. We all are. So, that explains it. I'm more excited about Horizon. I think it looks new and it's different. It's a new idea. No offense to Bethesda. Fallout 4 is certainly not a new idea. It's more of an idea we love. Yeah. And I think that Horizon is a new idea from a studio that we didn't think was going to do something like this, even though it was long rumored. And here it is.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited. Horizon looks fucking rad. Yeah.
I mean, E3 definitely is about the surprises and those moments where you're like, oh crap, or like you are proven wrong, or like all these different things. And I think for me, I gave it to Mario Maker, Horizon, and Cuphead. Cuphead, I knew nothing about that game. I saw this and I'm like, fell in love with it. I've watched that trailer maybe 10 times since E3 just because I'm like, whoa, this looks amazing. Mario Maker, we've known about it for years at this point, and I've always been like, it's going to be cool, it's going to be fine. Yeah. But then seeing what they did at the Nintendo World Championships, I'm like, man, this game is going to be awesome. And they turned something that was like, oh yeah, it'll be fine, to, I need this game now.
Yeah.
So that's why I got that for me. And then Horizon was the game that came out that was like, this looks great, and we didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
Fallout, it's like, again, I'm not a Fallout guy, so I wouldn't have personally given it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, their presence at the Bethesda conference and, the Microsoft conference too, it's like, everyone in the room shut the fuck up for that. That was what they were there for. But it wasn't a surprise, and there was nothing about it that people were like, I can't believe they did that. Right. It was all, this is exactly what I want.
Fallout 4 is similar to me, is in the similar boat with me as Metal Gear Solid, where Metal Gear Solid I already know is on my short list for Game of the Year, and I imagine Fallout 4 will be as well. And I imagine Fallout 4 is going to win. So it's like, they're not the underdog. You know what I mean? Uncharted, I was like, yeah, okay, more Uncharted. I like more Uncharted. I left that demo being like, that was awesome. That was unexpected. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like the Mario Maker thing, where it's like you went into it knowing it's going to be good, but came out of it like, fuck, that was great.
It's a shitty thing, I guess. But once you're on top, you have to figure out how to keep outdoing yourself. And Fallout's outdoing itself, but not in the way of like, that's totally not what I expected. I was like, oh, that's what I expected it to look like, and I can't fucking wait to spend 100 hours with it. Mm-hmm. Make bad decisions, fight ghouls.
My favorite decisions.
Wear my Pip-Boy every time I stream it.
Oh, Lord. All right. Luke Williams at Leroy3707 wants to know what you guys think about Batman.
Oh,
I have no opinion on it right now. I haven't played it yet.
I've been playing. I'm 4.5 hours into Batman Arkham Knight right now, and this will be spoiler free. I streamed the first 4 hours last night, and when I shut it off and was closing down, the things that stood out for me were beautiful. I'm playing on PlayStation 4, so I don't have any of these PC problems. Beautiful. Sorry, I'm in the PlayStation 4 Master Race. You might have heard of it. Beautiful. Right, Clements? Or his grandfather, actually. Beautiful game. Stories. What did I say today? It's awesome. It's a great story, but I said something today that you gave me a hard time. Fascinating. It's a fascinating story. Like, wait till you play it, because, like, this is what I'm talking about, too. It's like what I think Arkham Origins did so well. I'm just like, here's the real story. And you're like, oh, fuck. And, like, that was the thing of, like, I gotta play this. I gotta know everything that's happening. And I was doing the stream, and it was like I wanted to know more. So here's where we get into a negative, where I just played the story, and I'm just going through the story, running through the story, and I'm not doing the side missions that are popping up, because I'm like, number one, I'll get to them later when I feel like it, and number two, I'm gonna do New Game Plus with it, and I'll max them all out there because of the cover. You know, they're saying that I think it carries over, and even if it doesn't, I'll just do it then. But I'm running through the story. And I know when we read the GameSpot review, that was the 7 compared to all the 9s and 10s it was getting right. One of the negatives they put were the forced Batmobile segments. I was like, what a weird thing to do. And then last night, running through the story, ignoring everything else, I was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do these forced Batmobile segments. You know what I mean? Because, like, last night I'm playing and I'm doing the story, and you're in the Batmobile, and you have to engage all these different tank vehicles that keep coming up to you, and you have to do it at a number of different points as you're running, and it felt like it was just like, okay, I'm getting into being I'm in the car again, and I'm not only am I in the car, I'm playing World of Tanks. And it's like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't Batman sliding, because you're sliding and strafing and blowing up these things, and they're trying to shoot you, but it's like, it's not even that fast of it's not fast-paced action. It's not from the fast-paced action genre. So you're skating around and blowing them all up, and it's like, all right, whatever. But it's like, I just want to be Batman. It's about being Batman and putting me in the car, being the Batman. It doesn't work for me. And I was like, I'll have to figure out if that balances out later on. Today, when I woke up and played for like another 45 minutes or whatever, I just did side quests. And those were the missions that, number one, made me feel like Batman. I'm doing the combat we all know and love. I'm sneaking up on guys. I'm like, oh, great. Number two, it was, let's use the Batmobile to get around the city. Let's get from point A to point B. That feels awesome. Driving the Batmobile just as a Batmobile feels great. And then there's these missions where you have to take out like armored cars in the city, and those kind of were springing up today as I went. So I'm like going to somewhere else, and it's like, oh no, it's Batman. I'm like, oh, fuck you. And I'm like driving these guys off the road, and I'm slamming them. That Batmobile combat was real fun. And then when I went and did some of the side missions that had me do the tank thing, I wasn't as like, oh, this fucking shit again. Because it's like, I knew what I was getting into. The pacing felt better. It's, you know, it's a sandwich there and not just a piece of meat, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's more adding to it, and it was takeaway. So I have to go through tonight. I'm going to do more story, obviously. Hopefully, if I start burning out, then I'll start going to side missions and doing that stuff.
At Thinkysaurus, Daniel Thompson, he wants to know what your thoughts are on the new South Park. Which I think is one of the biggest surprises.
That was a huge surprise.
That was a huge surprise, yeah. Another game that gets, or another announcement that's getting overlooked because there's so much other stuff. But yeah, you want to talk about a game I never thought we'd get. You know, Matt and Trey were so down on that game when I interviewed them at Comic-Con and hosted that panel with them that I was like, eesh, probably never going to see this again. And then for them to come out and like, we're doing it again. It's superhero themed. I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this game. However, it's then weird that it's not with Obsidian. It's with Ubisoft San Francisco. It's like, okay, like how far out is this game going to be, and what's happening with any of this?
Yeah, it's got to be a ways out. I think the infrastructure's there, the engine's there. It'll run better on PS4 and Xbox One, which is certainly where this game's going to live. And I think with all of that done, since that's what we were saying is like South Park's not going to be about visual fidelity. They achieved the visual fidelity of the cartoon. That's as good as it's going to get. So they don't have to worry about that anymore. Now they can just make the story and the new assets that they need to make. I'm fucking jazzed, man.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I thought Stick of Truth was, first of all, one of the most surprising games I'd played in years. And that game was in development hell forever. It switched publishers, as everyone remembers.
Yeah.
It was in trouble. That game was in a lot of trouble. And they got it out, and it was fucking awesome. And if it wasn't for a couple other games, like Child of Light and that was like the best game that year. Shovel Knight. That would probably my third favorite. Probably my third favorite game of the year. And I'm not even a South Park fan. I haven't watched South Park regularly since 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
I hadn't laughed that hard at a game ever. I was like hysterical the entire time. I was like, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. I forgot that I love these characters. South Park has not run its course.
Yeah.
I was wrong about that. I didn't think it did even when I was a kid. I was just like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. I don't know. I was hugely surprised by it too. Money talks, I'm sure. And
yeah, once Ubisoft saw the figures they were doing, and you have to still imagine they're trying to put the original out on
Yeah, it
PS4,
makes
Xbox
sense.
One.
Make it run better and stuff like that. But man, yeah, I would venture to say I platinumed the Stick of Truth, and I would venture to say I would do it again if it was on PS4.
Wow.
Because it's not a hard platinum. The game's like 10 hours long, and it's like super fucking fun. So if they do another game like that, a weekend game basically,
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm totally in. It was
In,
a
like,
huge.
when?
That was a genuine. I would have never in a million years guessed surprise based on the way they talked about the original, and not that they thought the original was bad. They just didn't have fun
They just
making
didn't
it.
want to do it, yeah. The Ghost 6 wants to know, do you think Sony will hurt due to the lack of exclusives in 2015 or the marketing for Battlefront or do you think the marketing for Battlefront and Call of Duty will make up for it?
So we talked about it.
Yeah, we
right?
talked about this earlier. I don't know how Greg feels about it, but I think the deal with Call of Duty, for instance, like the Activision deals, are too little, too late. I don't think it matters. I think that's actually a waste of Sony's money. Mostly because I think that Xbox has already engendered that community, and that community exists. And if anything, that community is plateauing and is going to start truncating soon. So, and I'm interested to see how that all shakes out. Again, as a pundit of the industry, as a studious person of the industry, I want to see how it plays out, and I hope that they have no exclusives. Because I just want to see how it plays out. The Destiny thing did not work out like as well as people thought it did for them.
But it did do that thing where I think a lot of people associate it with them. You know what I mean? I do think they have mind share on that game that's a PlayStation thing because of the exclusives they have.
Well, I mean, it's crazy to look at someone like Alfredo, who is an Xbox guy.
He's an Xbox.
And he still is when it comes to Destiny. Like, he plays his Xbox version's his main one, but he has a PS4 character that he cares about. And, like, that's crazy to me is that, like, that game did do something to hardcore Xbox people.
I think Xbox is going to close the gap. I think I don't think it's going to be, they're going to pull ahead. I don't think they're going to match Sony's numbers, but I think they are going to make a dent this fall, winter.
Nima Moritzen asks, what's the difference between being at E3 with Kind of Funny and IGN?
It was a lot more tiring and kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we finished day one and I said, it's like we just finished day three. That's how tired I was, just because, I kept saying to people, we are trying to put on the same show here we put on there for all intents and purposes, right? Like, we're still bringing same caliber of guests, same workload, except that there's no support team. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I'm booking, everybody's running around calling their contacts, Kevin's screaming in the other room and trying to get us, we're all talking to each other on IFBs, and it's like, there's no one to throw to that isn't one of us. And so we're all trying to manage where everybody is and stuff.
Yeah, it's, I've said this a million times now to you guys, but it was just more to me. It was more everything. It was more hard. It was more fun. It was more rewarding. It was more challenging. It was all of these things at once. But it was just interesting. It's interesting being able to not have to. I mean, you still have to think about what you're saying, but you can just be a little bit more open and honest and definitely casual.
Sure. Yeah.
Being able to just like have fun and just be us. I think that's the coolest part of it, is that this E3 it might have been the first time ever that people were allowed to, on that level, thanks to GameSpot giving us that stage, on a huge stage on the show floor of E3, be able to just be dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just hanging out and like just letting people know our opinions on stuff.
Bros broing out.
Yeah, and it's like, and that was really cool. And being able to have Chloe and Alfredo there too, like, it was fun, and it was fun that at any moment all of us were doing something to create this show and to create this thing, and that we didn't really need to worry too much about all the hierarchy of stuff, because we are the hierarchy. That's not to take away from IGN at all. It's very different. Like, I wouldn't even be able to compare this year to our previous years. Our previous years, each one of us had a very stratified role. We had one thing that we had to do. Do it hard.
Do it hard.
Here it's like we have 10 million things to do. Do them all hard at once with each other, stare into each other's eyes.
Yeah. Do it hard as many times as you could each day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so overall, I mean, I can't wait for next year. I think next year's going to be totally different than this year.
Yeah.
That's exciting, Like we keep saying with everything that we do is kind of funny. It's like, it's never going to be like this again. And it's like, it's never going to be like that again. This was a unique experience. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Last question.
Final question, everybody.
Papello 14.
Okay.
Is that it? I need a reading from you, Kevin. Papello?
Pepelo, maybe?
Pepello?
Papello sounds good.
Anyways, do we need the EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, Square type companies conferences annualized, or just for great events like Fallout 4? Now, we talked about this a bit. Let's take Bethesda out of it, because Bethesda is going to do just the event ones.
Presumably. We don't know that for sure, but I can't imagine.
Yeah. Square, EA, Ubisoft. Now, Square hasn't always had one. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. EA, Ubisoft essentially always have, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
At least in recent memory,
Sure,
they
sure,
always
sure,
have. Do you see a world where one of them bows out?
One of those two, no.
Yeah, they have so many games going. They always have that, Gatling gun of announcements and things to talk about. Like it is, like we're saying, maybe it isn't for us, maybe it is for Wall Street Journal, maybe it's for their investors. Like they have things they need to talk about to people.
But see, the thing there is like you look at Activision, right? And I mean, they haven't had a press conference for. Did they ever? I don't even remember. I
They
feel
used to do that
they had a
pre-show
showcase
all the
there.
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think they ever did a press conference that I can remember.
They don't need to.
But it's like, why do they not need to? But EA or Ubisoft does.
I feel like a big part of Activision's business model is licensed games, and that's gone. That's dried up in a lot of ways. And there's still, I'm not saying there's none, but I'm saying it's not like it was before where there's like a Spider-Man game every year and there's this, that, and the other thing, right? Like it's Skylanders, it's the Blizzard stuff. I don't even know if you want to include that in there. It's Call of Duty, right? And like Call of Duty can get feature somewhere else. Skylanders will pop up somewhere else. Skylanders is one of those games that doesn't speak to the E3 audience necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, say in the same way Disney Infinity doesn't need its own conference, right? Like when there's a cool Star Wars tie-in, you bring it in there and you try to make a big deal about it. But in general, Skylanders doesn't need to come out and be like, hey, no, it's triple swap where you take the base and the midsection and the head of a guy and you make Shark Tater Man. No, you don't need, you know what I mean?
Shark Tater Man.
Yeah.
What's that?
Shark head, tater midsection, man legs.
Got it.
Because
Got
you're
it.
aware this was the big upgrade to Skylanders a while back. Yeah? You're not? Are you?
No, I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve Butts loved it.
Yeah.
My
Don Carl,
my
too.
assumption is that Activision. I mean, all the publishers get in the bed with the first parties, but I feel like Activision does it strategically in a way where they actually make money on E3, and I think that's a thing where that's just a Bobby Kotick. They're a business,
Yeah.
So I think when they appear at Sony's conference, Sony's probably paying them, and so they don't have to worry about anything else. I think that to them, they're like, well, we'll show our games where it makes sense, and we don't need to show everything, and then you don't have redundancies like Ubisoft and EA does. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Activision's just really way bigger. So,
It's weird though. It's like Activision doesn't want to make money.
Yeah, that's pretty much Activision.
I mean, if they wanted to make money, there's a simple way to do it. His name's Crash Bandicoot, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Last ever, episode 25. Yeah, don't give me shit for that. Or don't give me shit for that. You know what?
You live your life.
You do you, I'll do me. And we'll just appreciate each other as mutual frenemies.
Doers. Oh, okay.
Doers?
sure.
Whether we're friends, whether we're enemies, whatever it is, let's just do it. It'll be fun. Thank you.